The big news that is trending all over the place is a report that is out there is from Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston, who reports on the future of Bill Belichick. And we immediately went to C-Rob and said, what is real? What is happening? Because according to Curran's report, the decision has already been made. The Crafts are prepared. They are going to move on from Belichick. So C-Rob, where do we stand on this?
Let me start off by saying Tom Curran is a very, very credible reporter. Covered the Patriots for a long time. He's wired there. We're talking about somebody who's sourced in ownership, sourced in the locker room, sourced in the front office, sourced on the coaching staff. So for Tom Curran to say it, it carries a lot of weight. I will tell you, I placed 2 calls tonight to individuals that typically would have knowledge of this. Thus far, from what I've been told, this is not something that's proliferated around the building prior to the Tom Curran report. No one was told, like, hey, we're all being let go, start warming up the resumes. Now, that said, it doesn't mean that what Tom Curran is reporting is not accurate. It could just be that the circle is so small that this is between Bill and ownership, and they're going to keep it between Bill and ownership until the end of the season comes. And in my mind, I don't know why you would start to tell other individuals in the building at this point, because it's not like people can start, going out and looking for jobs right now anyway. Nobody's going to put their house up for sale in December. And, let's be honest here. We've talked about this all season long, the lack of results, the roster that is pretty much barren at this stage, and how they're going to have a high draft pick here. They need to replace their quarterback. They're going to have a ton of money under the salary cap. And if there were going to be a pivot point, it makes sense that it would be this offseason, right? And even the way the report comes out, to me, it makes sense knowing how NFL teams work. Typically, when a really, really big decision is going to be made at some point. So let's say it's with a beloved quarterback, right? That's aging or something like that. Ownership will float a balloon out, and it's not going to be some, it pops up in 6, 7 different places. It's going to be one source that's trusted. You float the balloon out, and then it gets out into the public. And what happens? The fan base contemplates it. They get used to it. And then by the end of the season, when it happens, it's not this big, huge surprise. Oh my God, Tom Brady's really leaving. Even the Tom Brady situation, it didn't just happen, right? We heard about it at the beginning of the season. Like, hey, this is potentially his last year in New England. Everybody got used to it over the course of the season. We all bickered about it. And then it ultimately happened. This makes sense to me. I do think this is very, very credible. And it aligns with everything we've seen over the course of the season.
The way you said that and laid it out really has me thinking about, we see this all the time in college football, right? If there's a coach that a program's going to hire, sometimes they'll leak it out there to see if the fan base likes the hire, doesn't like the hire. We see this a lot. I hadn't really thought about that moving forward with the NFL. So walk me through a little bit of standard operating procedure, because I don't think most of us are familiar with it. You mentioned the coaches haven't heard. In a situation like that, is that unusual?
Well, it's unusual that a coach would be told, hey, we're moving on, and then coach out the rest of the season, especially when you were, they were 2-8 at that point. You're exiting the game. I'll tell you what, these international games, they're the worst place to go if you're a struggling coach, because there's a chance that either you're not coming back with the program, or you're going to be told potentially that, this is the beginning of the end for you. So I think it's unusual in the sense that coaches just aren't told that early in the season with 7 games left on your schedule, hey, we're going to part company. We feel at this point we've seen what we need to see. And then, then the coach has to contemplate, okay, well, now I know this. Do I now tell other coaches? Do I know? And you would really be asking for some chaos. I think if you're the head coach and you let it be known amongst your coaches that, hey, this is it for us, you don't know how that's going to impact their coaching the rest of the season. You don't know how that's going to impact their decision-making in terms of, everyone's going to want to protect their resume. And, this is like Art Howe and Moneyball. I'm going to go out there and put my best team on the field because I got to explain how this all happened, right? You don't want that to occur. So I think in this particular situation, it would make sense to me that the circle's been kept very, very tight. And, it would come out at this time where we're now staring at a spot in the schedule where we only have a few weeks left of football. People can acclimate themselves to that piece of information, including inside the building, and be prepared for a change of scenery. And by the way, putting this out there now, if you're the Patriots, allowing this to get out at this stage does what else? It sends up the bat signal to anybody else across the NFL who you might be interested in, like a Mike Vrabel, perhaps. Hey, we're going to have an opening here. start thinking about whether or not you would be interested. And oh, by the way, 2 other teams, we have Bill under contract for another year. He's still an asset. He's a tradable asset for us. So if there's another program out there, let's say it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are thinking maybe Todd Light is done after this season. Maybe we're looking at a potential coaching change. If we can't, this regime can't get them into the playoffs in a winnable NFC South. Okay, now we also know ownership of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or elsewhere. Bill Belichick is potentially available for trade in a few weeks. It sends a message out to everybody while also letting your fan base acclimate.
What is in your insight, the league-wide opinion right now on Belichick?
I think everyone still respects him in terms of he's a great coach. He's still a great coach. It's not going away. It's not like he found himself in a situation in New England where his GM skills had not paid off in terms of lining the team with that foundation it needed when Tom Brady departed. And then they chose a quarterback who ultimately has not worked out. Now, you can debate whether or not Bill had a hand in that by trying the whole Matt Patricia thing at offensive coordinator, and that's what really started the unraveling for Mac Jones. But in terms of franchises out there looking at Bill, I think that you're going to have some owners who go, I don't care what, if he's going to come in and we've got a veteran roster. We feel like we're in a pretty good spot right now. All we need is a really smart guy to come in here, put together a great defensive game plan. We'll find the right OC, or, okay, guess what? There is an OC out there that he's acclimated with, right? There's an OC who's available that he worked with for a long time, who does not have a job right now. So I don't think if you're sitting there and you're staring at Bill Belichick, maybe you want to be staring at Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, because these two have worked well together in the past. And you're saying, we have a shake and bake, great head coach, good offensive coordinator. All we need to do now is just make the roster align. If we get our hands on him early enough. Now, I'd want some salary cap space. Okay. I'd want some draft capital, right? And you have to resolve the general manager situation, because I don't think Bill's going to want to go somewhere where there's a general manager selecting players. I think he wants to continue to select players. I think you have to, in your mind, be settled with Bill selecting players, right? Like, okay, I know what I've seen in New England. I know it didn't work out the last few years. Maybe he just needs a fresh start here. It's a different program, different owner. And, in the past, he has had good drafts. Or maybe there's another personnel man out there, right, who he has worked with in the past, that we can bring the gang back together again, right? So, and I would think if Bill's going to exit, if he's going to depart the New England Patriots, wherever he may go, he's got a plan, right? Bill's not going to leave the situation with no plan whatsoever. He's got his book. He can reach out to virtually any coach, knows everybody. He can reach into the college ranks and go get coaches with expertise in the college ranks. His Rolodex is fat, okay, and you're getting a lot if you go and you get Bill Belichick right now, but you're also getting the potential downside of having a coach that's in his 70s, and you better be in it to win it right away when he gets there.